Imagine this. What if I told you that the night meant to destroy his chance at love turned into the moment that changed his life forever? Stick with me until the end, because this story will touch your heart and remind you that sometimes fate hides behind the most unexpected plans. And hey, if you enjoy stories like this one, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, so you never miss the next emotional journey. It all began with Lucas Grant, a single dad, a CEO, and a man who had spent years burying himself in work after losing his wife in a tragic accident. On the outside, he was powerful, wealthy, and untouchable. But behind the boardroom confidence, Lucas was just a father trying to raise his little girl, Amelia, with the love and stability she deserved. He hadn't gone on a proper date in years, but at the insistence of his friends, and for Amelia's sake, he agreed to try again. That's when the blind date was arranged. What Lucas didn't know was that someone had already set him up for failure. Across town, a young woman named Clara received a mysterious offer. Struggling to pay for her mother's medical bills and working endless shifts at a small cafe, Clara was desperate. A stranger approached her with a proposition: show up at a fancy restaurant, sit across from Lucas, and make a complete mess of the evening. If she embarrassed him badly enough, she'd walk away with enough money to cover her mother's next treatments. It sounded wrong, cruel even, but when desperation whispers in your ear, morality sometimes feels like a luxury. With a heavy heart, Clara agreed. The night of the date came. Lucas arrived at the elegant rooftop restaurant, dressed in a sharp black suit but with tired eyes that revealed years of silent struggle. Clara walked in, nervous but stunning, her simple blue dress contrasting the glamour around her. She sat down, ready to play her part, drop the drink, make awkward comments, be rude enough to chase him away. But the moment their eyes met, something happened. Lucas smiled, not the polished CEO smile he gave at meetings, but a warm, almost shy one, the kind of smile that made Clara's chest ache with guilt. As the evening went on, she tried to follow the plan. She spilled a little water on the table, made a clumsy remark about not understanding business talk, and even pretended to be distracted by her phone. But instead of growing frustrated, Lucas laughed softly. He leaned in and said, "It's refreshing, you know, being with someone who isn't trying to impress me." That broke something inside Clara. She realized this wasn't the cold, arrogant millionaire she was told to humiliate. This was a man who had carried loneliness on his shoulders for too long. Then the most unexpected thing happened. Midway through dinner, Lucas's phone rang. It was Amelia, his daughter. He answered with tenderness in his voice, speaking to her like she was his entire world. Clara listened, her heart melting at the way he reassured his little girl, promising to tuck her in as soon as he got home. When he hung up, he looked almost embarrassed and said, "Sorry, she gets scared of thunderstorms." Clara smiled, and for the first time that night, she wasn't acting. She said, "She's lucky to have you." The plan to ruin him was crumbling. Instead, Clara found herself drawn to the depth of his grief, his devotion as a father, and his quiet longing for something real. But guilt weighed heavily on her chest. How could she accept the kindness in his eyes knowing that she had been paid to hurt him? Days passed, and Lucas reached out again, asking to see her. Against her better judgment, Clara agreed. Each time they met, she dropped more of her act and revealed more of herself, the girl who worked 3 jobs, the daughter terrified of losing her mother, the woman who never thought she deserved happiness. Lucas listened, and instead of judgment, he offered understanding. He opened up too, telling her about the day he lost his wife, the years of pretending he was fine, and the nights when Amelia would cry herself to sleep. Their pain became a bridge, connecting them in ways neither expected. But the truth has a way of coming out. One evening, as Lucas prepared dinner at his home, Amelia laughing in the background, Clara broke down. Tears filled her eyes as she confessed everything, the money, the instructions, the cruel game she had agreed to play. She braced herself for anger, for the walls of the CEO to slam back into place. Instead, there was silence. Lucas stared at her, hurt flashing across his face, but then he asked softly, "So why are you here now?" Clara's voice shook as she said, "Because I stopped seeing you as a job. I started seeing the man you are, and I fell for him. I'm sorry, Lucas. I never wanted to hurt you." There was a long pause, then Lucas sighed and turned away. For days, he kept his distance, torn between betrayal and the undeniable truth that Clara had touched his heart in a way no one else had. Amelia, however, noticed. One night, she tugged on his sleeve and asked, "Daddy, are you going to stop smiling because she's gone?" That single question cracked his armor. He realized that forgiveness, though difficult, might just lead him back to the happiness he thought he'd lost forever. Lucas gave Clara another chance. Slowly, they rebuilt what had been broken. Trust didn't come overnight, but it grew stronger with every honest conversation, every shared laugh, every moment with Amelia who had begun to adore Clara. What began as a cruel setup turned into a love story none of them expected. And so, the man who had once buried himself in loneliness learned that love can bloom even in the messiest circumstances. The woman who once